Can we move on to item 16, which is the, again, in my portfolio, review of the statues in Leeds in response to Black Lives Matter. You will all recall the situation as a result of the death of George Floyd, the situation that developed in Bristol, and our response to that. And I was really thrilled that Alderwoman Alison Lowe, a great friend to all of us, stepped up and volunteered her time and her great expertise to lead a review team that she helped put together to look into the background for our many statues across the city, really to us understand why we have them, what their background is, and how we take them forward, recognising that there are many unsung heroes from our history that haven't had such recognition. I should also congratulate Alison on winning a well-deserved Legacy Award on Sunday evening, so congratulations for that as well, Alison. And I'm very pleased to say that Alison has come to join us today to give us an update on the outcomes of the review, which are laid out in the exec board paper, and to look at ways that we will move forward to celebrate the many achievements, but also a real commitment to raising public awareness about our heritage and our history. So if I could hand over to Alison, thank you.
Thank you very much, and it's lovely to see you all again. It's even better that it's only this once, because I do not miss you all in the way that because it's so bad at the minute. I don't envy you the terrible job that you've got, but it's also in very good hands. So yeah, I was really delighted to be asked to serve the city once again by Councillor Judith Blake, and I was ably supported by Clooney and his team in understanding the scope of the task, putting together with the group some terms of reference, which was agreed by the leader, and forming the group, which I have to name because they were all outstanding. They did everything for free. They gave their time and their expertise. So Dr. Simon Morgan, Dr. Emily Zobel-Marshall, Dr. Stephen Basteo, James Rhodes, Martin Hamilton from Leeds Civic Trust, Jane Boyrow, and as I say, Clooney and his team, and also Joe Williams, who kindly gave me lots of information and source materials around 18 Park Road, the frieze there, which is referred to in the building, in the report. So the report, which I'm sure you have all written, you've all read, tries to capture the current situation with statuary in Leeds, and gives a bit of a history of some of that statuary. And we tried to be pragmatic about things like the nymphs. Obviously, we would have preferred not just seeing the nymphs, but we recognised their place in the statuary of Leeds. But we particularly wanted to understand those statues that we felt were contentious, and that particularly focused on Queen Victoria and Sir Robert Peel and the Lord Wellington, the Duke of Wellington. And what we did is we did quite a lot of digging into their histories, understood the contributions as well as the potential questionable sides to their stories. And we brought that to a meeting of the statue group, and we discussed that at length and came to a conclusion together that even though there were questions to be answered, actually we did not have a statue of the standard of Edward Colston. So that was right at the beginning. That was our reflection, but we wanted to get the people of Leeds engaged. And as you know, we did a big consultation exercise, and 800 and odd people responded, of which we analysed the 772, which are spoken about in the report. What was clear to us is that only 3% of all the respondents wanted to remove a specific statue, and only 10% of the overall number wanted any change to the current statutory in terms of removal or some other action. And what we also found from our review was that 55% of those people who responded wanted no change and definitely didn't want any removal. But what also was clear is that people felt that the stories of the people who were represented in statute form needed to be updated and modernised, and that we needed a 21st century lens on those people and their stories. And that really forms the backbone of the recommendations to you today. And we also felt that there were huge numbers of brilliant people in Leeds who also needed to be recognised in their groups, not necessarily as individuals, but we wanted to make sure that we incorporated into our recommendations a plea that the city would look for ways to recognise groups of people who had contributed over the years. So the Irish community, African Caribbean, Southeast Asian community, for example, and hopefully there will be opportunities to do that in the future, notwithstanding the current financial difficulties. So the recommendations 1 to 10 are in the report, and I'm really happy to answer any questions that you might have. Just to say, it was a delight. We had lots of really brilliant conversations. I'm an historian, I've got 2 degrees in history. It reminded me how much I love history, but it also reminded me that history has its dark side too, and we need to keep on revisiting that history to understand it in today's language and through the lens of today, so that we can make sense of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Lamb, would you like to comment?
I would, please, Chair, and likewise, it's very nice to see Alderman Lowe back, who I have a lot of time for, and I have to congratulate you on making such a fist of what in sporting terms would be described as a hospital pass, I think, from the Leader of Council. And I think what this all shows is the folly of knee-jerk reactions to things. I think if you look at the report that's been written by officers, not Councillor Lowe's report, my summation, channeling my inner Churchill, would be that never in the history of this council has so many words been used to avoid getting to the point that when people were asked their view on this, no one was really interested. That was the overwhelming response. And I would share Alderman Lowe's conclusion that we should do everything we can to celebrate people from all of the communities of Leeds and acknowledge the contributions they've made to our city. But you can't help escaping the conclusion that I suspect the vast majority of people in this city would take was that this was a complete waste of time and money. The responses to the survey show that, and the waffle in the report from officers simply backs that up. So it is what it is. It's been done. Let's move on.
Well, that's a very disappointing response given the situation that we were dealing with at the time, and looking back to what was actually happening on the ground. Can I move on to Councillor Galton?
Yes, thanks, Chair. It's interesting. The people who have got involved, just because they have a reasonable attitude, doesn't show that they had a lack of interest. They did have an interest, and the fact that actually the majority of people came to a reasonable consensus is actually a really good indication of how well engaged the people of Leeds are in terms of reviewing our future as well as our past in context. I know you've Councillor Lamb has talked about how this has been a waste of time and a waste of money, but we intend to be, well, we were going to be a city of culture, to get back to the Brexit paper, but now we're sorry, a capital of culture, European capital of culture. Now we're going to be a city of culture in 2023. And this kind of exercise is key to us demonstrating that we take culture seriously, and statuary is all about celebrating either issues or individuals. And as we look forward, we need to look back to think about how we might want to do things differently in the future, and how we might want to revisit the past and give it some kind of reinterpretation. I mean, that's the whole point behind museums. And I'm assuming Councillor Lamb doesn't think museums are a waste of time in terms of people having access to culture and learning from it and taking those lessons into the future. I think this exercise has been really well done, and I congratulate Alderman Lowe in terms of producing a document which is academically pleasing as well as socially. And I look forward to even more outcomes coming out of it in terms of Leeds going forward to 2023 and celebrating what it is as a city, which is one which is very diverse. And in terms of statuary, considering that the majority of them which are there historically have been paid for by quite rich people, it would be really good if that levelling up could be achieved artistically, and that some of the communities in Leeds which have been overlooked could be celebrated even more in time for 2023.
Thank you for your comments, and can I apologise to Alison for both Councillor Lamb and Councillor Galton reverting to calling you Alderman instead of Alderwoman.
It's okay. They're obviously not very modern.
As we're having a discussion about diversity.
Yeah.
I can't take responsibility for them, but apologies for that. But I just want to again repeat my comments. Thank you. It was an extraordinarily tense time as we have reflected on, and your calm and approach and your reputation did us great service at a very difficult time. So thank you very much for that, and for the fact that it was purely voluntary on your behalf and all the members of the reference board as well. So could I ask you to give our personal thanks to all of them as well. Obviously, their recommendations are to look at further work, and Clooney is on the call for that. We haven't had any questions about that, so I think in the interests of time, unless Clooney, there's anything particularly you want to refer to, I'll ask if we can agree the recommendations of the report and move on in that case. So thank you, everybody, and thank you again, Alderwoman Lowe, for giving us your time.
Thank you. And I could just say finally that one of the reasons why this was such a joy to do is because the people of Leeds, I think, trusted the council to do the right thing. And so if there wasn't lots and lots of thousands of people engaging, it's because they trusted the council to represent their views and their wishes, and you have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I'm sure you will be delighted to be able to drop out of the call now and continue what you're doing.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Can we move on to item 17, which is the